Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. My name is Lori Taylor. I'm your host. I am so grateful that you are here today joining us for what's going to be a wonderful conversation about an extremely important topic of food safety. We have resourced Jennifer Pulcipher. She is the Director of Food Safety and Compliance at North Bay Produce. North Bay is a long-standing brand partner of the Produce Moms. We truly appreciate all their support, and I personally have really enjoyed getting to know Jennifer over the last couple years. She's been part of the produce industry now for almost a decade. She studied food safety at Michigan State University, so despite being a Spartans fan, I still welcome her to the show, and I'm so glad she's here. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Lori.
You're welcome. I had to get my little Big Ten University graduate dig in there because I'm, as you know, a Hoosiers fan, but
go green.
Go Big Red. All right. So all that aside, now that we got our college banter behind us, tell us a little bit more about North Bay Produce and your work there as the Director of Food Safety and Compliance.
Sure. So North Bay Produce is a grower-owned cooperative. We have farms located throughout South America, North America. We also are a big importer and exporter. We have a variety of commodities: berries, peas, apples, beans, and we're getting into some dried fruit. I've been with the company for 7 years now, and I oversee all programs related to safety and security of the supply chain to ensure the integrity of the food that we supply grocery stores around the United States from field to fork.
Yeah, that's so important. And it's really important too. One reason I thought you would be an excellent resource for this show focused on food safety as we, prepare to celebrate World Food Safety Day, which is on June 7th. What you just stated about North Bay Produce being a cooperative of growers from several different countries, I think that's really important when we talk about the topic of food safety. We want all consumers to know that regardless of where your food is grown, if it's sold in the United States, there are food safety regulations that are required of all of the growers. Am I stating that correctly, Jennifer?
Yeah, no, Lori, that's perfect. Food safety best practices are followed in all the countries that we operate. All of our suppliers are third-party audited to the Global Food Safety Initiative, which is an overarching body that kind of sets the highest standards for farms around the world. And what's that?
Great. No, great. I mean, it's great to hear that. And so it sounds like we've got universal standards here.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't matter what language you speak. Food safety best practices are the same, and they're employed in every country and region and commodity that we're working with.
That's great. So let's start with the very basic question. It's a buzz term, to say the least, food safety. We hear it as consumers really as often as we hear terms like sustainability. But really, I think that there has to be some confusion at the consumer point. What is food safety?
Yeah, so food safety in technical terms is the practice of preventing chemical, physical, and biological contamination of food by using science and risk to evaluate systems. But really, food safety is an everyday practice of protecting the food supply chain from field to fork. Everyone has a responsibility and a role to play in order to consume safe, nutritious, and fresh fruit and vegetables.
Okay. So let's take it a little bit more granular now. And can you tell people like what do you do? How do you make sure that these things are happening? Because it sounds great. It sounds important. Like I definitely want to make sure that my food is always, food is abiding by these food safety guidelines. But how does someone like you, like what are the steps that you actually take in your day to day to ensure that this practice is protected and maintained?
Yeah, sure. North Bay has a supplier approval program where we vet all of our suppliers. We have a set of requirements and standards, making sure they're following good agricultural practices, good manufacturing practices. They're treating their employees fairly. They are following best practices with hygiene, cleaning, and sanitation.
Jennifer, I love hearing all of this from you. And one thing that I'm thinking is, okay, we've got universal standards. You've kind of walked us through what the process looks like. Now I'm gonna kind of just make some assumptions here, and I'd like you to clarify. Okay, this is me putting my consumer hat on. I'm assuming that the processes are constantly evolving towards improvement. Like this is a concept where it's like there's always room for improvement. Would be my guess.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A lot of our growers, we encourage continuous improvement is kind of the terms in the food safety realm.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving. One of the things that North Bay focuses on in our pillars of food safety expectations is adaptability. That all food safety systems should be science-oriented, risk-based, be verified and validated frequently, and using technology and best practices as they evolve. It's important to take a proactive approach and evolve with the industry in order to continue keeping our food supply chain safe.
Right. And so I would assume I'm so glad you just mentioned technology, because as you were talking, I was like, this is such a high tech division or sector of the agriculture world is what happens within food safety. I mean, like, could you even do your job without technology?
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. The technology that's employed in the growing nowadays is so advanced. I know that some people are using drones and GPS to plant crops. I mean, there's even talk of, pollinators, computerized pollinators.
Unbelievable. That is just, it was like mind blowing to me.
Yeah. And then as far as, food safety, just optimizing that technology to gather the data to make your decisions accordingly, I think is super important. It's important to be very precise and data oriented with food safety.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I would say. I mean, I was employed in the supply chain for like 10 years, I mean, I worked at wholesale distribution for 10 years where we had a fresh cut processing facility where we were receiving loads, shipping loads, 24/7 operation. And now work hand in hand with many well-respected growers and grower cooperatives. And I would say that food safety is everyone's number one priority. Like, I think it's safe to go on record where I say that is what I would view as our industry's top priority is food safety, safe quality food. Like, it is absolutely what we're all working towards day in and day out.
Yeah, I agree. It's paramount. I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, I mean, us working in the food industry, we eat the food ourselves. The products that North Bay provides to the market are the same products that I'm going out and providing to my family and feeding to my niece and nephew. And we all want to provide safe, nutritious, wholesome food to our families. So of course, us as a company, we're going to go out and kind of set the bar and continuously evolve and improve and strive for excellence when it comes to food safety.
Right. And that quest, I mean, it's not a micro point of an effort. This is something that, and we worked actually hand in hand with you, Jennifer, to create that infographic that we previously published that kind of helped define what food safety is and how broad of a concept it is for our growers. And, so let's just kind of walk our listeners through it. I mean, this is not something that starts or ends on the field. Like tell people about that whole journey of food safety and how it really does start with the seed and it ends with the smile when the consumer's eating your product in their home kitchen.
So as far as food safety from the growing perspective, it starts with healthy soil, making sure that the soil has the right nitrogen, phosphorus, and other nutrients necessary for plants to grow healthy, and irrigating those same crops with clean water. Water is necessity for growing crops, and ensuring the cleanliness is the first step to food safety in the supply chain.
Yeah, good points. Good points. And then what's the next step? So obviously that kind of embodies what happens with the plant in the ground, but the journey, certainly we got a long way to go before we get to that consumer smile. So the next would probably be harvesting, right?
Right. Yeah. And, as many of us see nowadays, healthy bodies are the epitome of what it takes to harvest crops, making sure that all hands are clean and hand washing and hygiene practices are being followed to the T.
Yep. And it's so important. This is really the stage of food safety where specialty crop agriculture has a point of differentiation from so many other sectors of ag. Our crops, fruits, vegetables, tree nuts, flowers, our crops and specialty crop ag, these are delicate crops that require that human touch, the human hand for harvesting. You don't see a lot of mechanized labor in harvesting for specialty crop ag. So, what Jennifer's saying with clean hand, it's so important. So important.
Yeah. And, going off of that too, making sure that all of the harvesters are trained in the best practices for picking that fruit and keeping the fruit safe in the whole process of harvesting, from when it's picked to the time that it reaches the packing house.
Sure. And then packing house is where the product is put into the clamshells or the boxes, the stuff that, exactly what it says. We're packing it up so that we can ship it down that supply chain, whether it's going to a grocery store or a restaurant or a school food service operator. All right. So, and obviously in the packing house, I have a ton of experience, firsthand experience with this from my background. Also with like the next stage, which is shipping and distribution. But that's another stage where there's a lot of that hands-on, you've got your hands on the product, putting it into the box or into the package.
Yeah, this is kind of the stage in the supply chain, I think, that is the most involved. And, like we say in the infographic, it's data-driven. There's a technological system that's used when packing these fresh fruits and vegetables. And there's a flow that allows them to reach the final box or clamshell in a safe and hygienic manner.
Perfect. And then next would be that shipping and distribution, which kind of, for a lot of folks, that's kind of seamless almost. It's like it goes straight off the packing line right into the shipping and distribution warehouse. And then lastly, that's when it finally reaches that smile. That's the seed to smile journey where it finds its home, whether it's a chef in a restaurant or a home cook in their kitchen. That's the last step. And it's important, especially on this platform here, when we're talking to consumers, there are food safety precautions that all of us need to be taking in our own home.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There is what is known as the core four: to clean, separate, cook, and chill. And obviously, when it comes to fresh fruits and vegetables, you'll want to wash those under cold running water and just rinse. Nothing else is needed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. And, also storing it. We had the way you even store your food in the refrigerator, make sure that you separate your produce from your raw meats, and, other eggs. And
Exactly.
Jennifer, am I missing anything? That's it, right? That's what I do at my house.
Yep. All of it needs to be kept separate.
Okay. Perfect. So let's talk about recalls for a minute. That's really when I think consumers realize that that's when food safety becomes part of mass media, is through when recalls happen. So tell us a little bit more about what, from your point of view at North Bay Produce, how are you guys recall ready? How do you respond when a recall happens?
Sure. North Bay Produce partnered with United Fresh Produce Association and their Recall Ready team. And we created a program specific to our business, which allows everyone to play a role and is involved. And basically, it focuses on prevention, right? If there's an issue that pops up, we can assess it based on the risk and hopefully mitigate it before it becomes an actual problem.
Right.
United Fresh has been a great partner to us, and Jennifer McIntyre, the VP of Food Safety, is a great resource, and she's been very key in developing this program for us.
That's great. And for consumers that are listening, if there is a recall, because there is so much information out there that really is not always valid, or most, people are, with the way content lives online,
Right.
How do people know they're getting the most up-to-date information as it relates to food safety or any recalls? Any specific websites that you would like to encourage folks to always, like that you consider the sites of authority, Jennifer, as it relates to recalls?
Yep. As far as recalls, I think the number one body that consumers need to look to is the Food and Drug.
FDA.gov.
Yes, they are the ones that are the first line when initiating a recall. So I know that consumers can subscribe to their recall notifications. I myself am subscribed to that.
Yes, I am too.
Yep. So anytime anything comes out and is publicized, you get that knowledge firsthand.
Yeah. Very good tip. Thank you so much. So any, we're closing in on our time here, Jennifer. I mean, I'm so thankful that you came on to talk about this topic. It's timely with World Food Safety Day being here in June. But it's also, it's always timely. I don't care if there is a holiday for it. It's like, my goodness, this is so important. And to use your line that you said earlier, it really is the paramount goal for everyone in agriculture is food safety. And so, thank you again for the work that you do. It is so important. I mean, just absolutely job number one for any grower, any stage of the supply chain, it's to ensure that safe food. And, but we have the tradition here at the Produce Moms podcast. You get to actually close out the show with your final thoughts. Please, take it from here. You get the mic back.
Sure, thanks. I am so honored to be on your show. It's been such a great opportunity. And one of the partnerships, I guess, that North Bay constantly looks to for food safety education is the Partnership for Food Safety Education. You can find them on fightback.org. And they're an organization that supports consumers to prevent foodborne illness. They have a lot of great resources for consumers, for parents when packing lunches. They have games for kids on their website. And I would just encourage consumers to visit their website.
And what was the website again, Jennifer?
Fightback.org.
I have been on that website, and it's Fightback as in FIGHTBAC.
Yes.
Yeah, .org. Okay, good. And also, I don't think we've mentioned it yet. North Bay Produce is northbayproduce.com. If you want to learn more about everything that, Jennifer's work is entailing and all the products that she's working to keep safe and quality.
Yeah. We're also on all of the social media platforms, so feel free to follow us there. We're constantly posting about what we're doing in the field and how we're actually implementing all of these best practices for consumers to learn about.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.